All right, here we go. It's it's actually 36 now after the hour of 6 o'clock, 94.9 News Now, and Stimulate Talk. And a brand new friend of the show. We bring him on every once in a while. He digs out some dirt, and he shares it with all of us. And today he wants to talk about something that we have been all over for the better part of 3 or 4 months, and we do it touch about it just about every single day, and that's his paid family leave. Tony D'Angelo, Managing Director, Paragon Trust Company in New Haven, is joining us. Tony, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Good morning, Lee. How are you?
We're doing good, man. How are you?
I am fine, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Well, you're great. You're fantastic on the air. So, all right, so let's jump into this. To me, this thing is going to be ripe with fraud. I'll let you drive it wherever you want to drive it, but what's your thoughts on paid family leave?
Well, I'll tell you, you're an old baseball guy. I'm an old baseball guy. There's a term dug up from the dugouts of long ago called a clubhouse lawyer. And what is a clubhouse lawyer? Well, a clubhouse lawyer looks and tries to figure out a way to do something in the players' agreement with the travel, with the meals, and, causes discord in the clubhouse. And looking at some generals regarding this thing, and I will show you how this could be clubhouse lawyered very easily. It's the most generous in the nation. It's 12 weeks. It's got a 95% reimbursement rate. And what's amazing to me is the way the bill, for those of you scoring at home, Public Act 19-25, an act concerning paid family and medical leave, how a serious health condition is defined. And I had to read this a number of times, but a serious health condition, not getting entirely into the weeds, but it can be continuing treatment, including outpatient treatment, by a healthcare provider. So my pea brain kind of goes to, what is a healthcare provider? It could be a dentist. It could be an ophthalmologist. It can be a chiropractor. So if I've got a chronic toothache, I can claim, hey, I have a serious medical issue. I mean, and I'm being very literal here, but this is what clubhouse lawyer type people will do.
Does the doctor, dentist, chiropractor have to sign off on it, though, correct?
Well, that's correct. But, it's quote-unquote medical judgment, so...
Right. No. And I'm not saying that there's going to be a lot of unscrupulous doctors out there, but sometimes doctors just do what doctors do to get that person out of the office, right?
Well, yeah, pretty much. And believe me, I'm not impugning a profession of any... you want people to act ethically, but these are the kind of machinations that are going to go on during coffee break, during, employee picnic or whatever. And to think that this isn't going to happen, I mean, is... believe me, and I'm a glass half full person, but I'm not that optimistic. Couple of other things. One of the things buried in this agreement, because my first thing is, does the math on this work? Now, I have to get into this because I, as a Connecticut employer, must know how this thing works and how I'm going to be approached with it. Pages 12 and 13 of this agreement tells you that if this thing goes belly up, the general fund will bail it out, and then the family leave fund has to reimburse the general fund. But it stops right there. I don't see anything about penalties. I don't see anything about interest. So guess what, Lee? This thing ends up in the General Assembly, and we have our usual budget drama where it's trying to get funded. It all comes back to the taxpayer. Think about this. All your medical stuff, according to this thing here, whatever your deepest, darkest issues may be, it's now within the state government. I mean, do you want that? I'm not sure if I want that. This state's had some serious data issues in the past. Here's just one of the other things that absolutely killed me. When you read the investment policy in this thing, any trustee, you give a trustee discretion. This is what you need to do in order to meet your objectives, and. There's some language in there saying on page 20, well, this fund doesn't have to invest in Connecticut bonds. And I'm saying to myself, why do you have to put that language there? Answer. They want this fund, which is going to be taking about $29 million in a year as far as contributions, to invest in Connecticut bonds, because Connecticut bonds are very troubled investments. So this way they have a constant pull of purchasing the bonds. Now, of course, as time goes on, you've written so well about what's happened in cities and, where we may be facing bankruptcies as we go on. I mean, we're on a very slippery slope. Now, the other thing is somebody wants to abuse this thing. There are no criminal penalties for abusing it. You get your wrist slapped, and it's like, well, you can't do it. But yet, if you clubhouse lawyer this thing very, very well, you can do 12 weeks a year and just be a, quote-unquote, repeat family leave person. My last thought is about the math. I'm telling you.
Right.
This knocked me, and I'll try to go as quickly as I can. The state of Connecticut is the state's largest employer. The payroll of the state of Connecticut, and this is from the Yankee Institute site, is $6 billion. Yes, billion with a B. Now, if the private sector payroll is a little bit less than that, I'm going to say that's $5.9 billion. I don't think it's that high. Now, we have a year of funding. The contribution rate's a 0.5 percentage point. That's $29 million to fund. Your standard benefit based on $50,000 salaries, which I think $50,000 is the average salary, some are higher, some are lower, would be $10,800 a year, 2 weeks more for pregnancy. The number of individuals that you could cover with that contribution, and please don't tell me about investment earnings because you got a bureaucrat that you're hiring to run the thing. You've got to do websites. You've got to do administration. If you have investment earnings, that's what all that's going for, is 2,700 people is the amount of people you can cover. I'm estimating now. The amount of people in the workforce is based upon that same $50,000 salary. Right. And I mean, you're talking to, and I'm just, a poor employer doing chicken scratch math. 120,000 people.
All right.
5% of that workforce takes paid family leave. That's close to 6,000 people. The dollars you need to fund that 5% is $63 million. Lee, guess what the rate of return you need in order to do that? Take a wild guess.
Well, it sounds like, 3-to-1, right?
Well, it's 216%.
Okay. Oh, okay.
There was an Italian by the name of Charles Ponzi who they threw in jail for 50%.
This thing will be bankrupt by 2022, right?
Well, exactly. It's going to be in the general fund. And it's like, I said to Kathy, my wife, I said, okay, who do I hit first?
Oh, man. It's brutal. I mean, and we just sit by like sheep, and they don't, these people don't get it. They just don't get it, Tony.
It doesn't work. It absolutely doesn't work. And I'm actually angry right now with every single legislator. First of all, the legislators that think this is just going to sail through like anything. And the others who knew it was wrong, but yet did not sit like I did for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and believe me, I'm not a I'm just a business person trying to do something, and say, hey, can this thing work? I mean, any person running any business whatsoever hearing this or seeing it would immediately be, whosoever's representing them saying, you got to stop this.
So not only will it be out of money probably within 3 or 4 years at best, you're going to get so much fraud, waste, and abuse, and plus you're going to put all this extra pressure on employers who now have to fill jobs for folks. And, by the way, you didn't even mention, which, again, we talked about this too, if someone is gone for that 3 months, then now the employer has to pay unemployment to the new person who he hires and fires, correct?
Well, that's correct. Because you got to be clean and green all the way.
Oh,
and
my God.
When somebody were to approach... If somebody were to approach me and say, this is what's happening, and, what if I kind of say, well, I don't think this is, really, really kosher. I don't see a lot in this bill, if anything, which would be like, quote, unquote, my rights to appeal. And, of course, once you do that, you have an immediate bad will situation. So you spend more time administrating than you do working and getting ahead and
incredible
getting jobs and serving your customers and your clients. That's the part that really gets me.
Tony D, again, Managing Director, Paragon Trust Company, New Haven. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and you've explained it just about as well, better than any one of them. So thank you for doing all that work and the due diligence, and I can't wait till you dig something else up. It's good stuff, buddy.
Thanks a lot.
All right, man. Tony, have a good one. Tony D'Angelo. All right, so we go from one Italian to another. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Bob Lazari in the world of sports next.